Get that off the floor. Now. The crystal wine glass had barely stopped spinning when William Carter's voice cut through the ballroom like a blade. Conversations died instantly. A string quartet faltered for half a beat before finding the rhythm again. Beneath the glow of massive chandeliers, more than 100 guests turned to watch. Maya Brooks stood motionless beside the spill, her black Maid uniform stark against the sea of designer gowns and tailored tuxedos. The red wine spread slowly across the polished marble like a stain no one wanted to touch. William adjusted the cuff of his custom suit and smirked. That is what you are paid for, right? A few guests laughed. Not loudly. Just enough. Maya felt the heat rise into her cheeks. Her fingers tightened around the linen towel in her hand. The room smelled of expensive perfume, aged whiskey, and fresh-cut roses flown in that morning. Everything about this place screamed power. Everything about her presence reminded people she did not belong. I said now. William's tone sharpened. Maya lowered her eyes and stepped forward. The marble floor reflected the chandelier light beneath her worn black shoes. Around her, people resumed talking, but she could still feel their eyes. Watching. Judging. Dismissing. Just another maid. Just another invisible woman. Then William laughed again. You know, some people spend their whole lives cleaning up after others because they never learn how to become anything more. The words landed harder than the humiliation itself. Several executives exchanged uncomfortable glances. Others smiled politely. Maya stopped moving. For the briefest second, something shifted behind her eyes. Not anger. Not embarrassment. Recognition. William noticed it immediately. What? He asked. You got something to say? The ballroom seemed quieter now. Even the music felt distant. Maya stared at him. Her heartbeat thudded in her ears. Because there was something about his voice. Something about the shape of his jaw. The faint scar near his temple. A scar partially hidden beneath silver hair. Her stomach tightened. No. It could not be. Not after all these years. Nothing, sir, she said softly. William nodded, satisfied. That is what I thought. He turned away, accepting a champagne flute from a waiter. The crowd followed his attention. The moment passed. Or at least everyone thought it had. But Maya could not breathe. Fragments of memory flashed through her mind like lightning behind storm clouds. Rain hammering against metal. Screeching tires. Water. So much water. A voice shouting in panic. Glass shattering. She blinked hard and forced the images away. The past belonged in the past. It had to. Across the ballroom, a television screen displayed highlights from William Carter's latest interview. Billionaire philanthropist. Self-made success story. American icon. Guests applauded as his face filled the screen. Maya looked away. Yet something deep inside her refused to settle. Then a waiter brushed past carrying a tray of champagne. One glass tipped. It crashed onto the marble floor beside William's feet. The sharp crack echoed through the room. Guests gasped. William stepped back instinctively. And Maya froze. Because for a split second, the sound was not breaking glass in a ballroom. It was another sound. Another night. Another crash. Another life. Her pulse surged. The tray rattled. The waiter apologized frantically. But Maya was no longer seeing the ballroom. She was seeing floodwater. Darkness. A sinking vehicle. And a terrified man trapped inside. Suddenly, her gaze snapped to the small scar near William's temple. The exact same scar. Her blood ran cold. 18 years ago, a stranger almost died in a river during a storm. 18 years ago, a 12-year-old girl had pulled someone towards safety before disappearing into the rain. And standing 10 feet away from her now, laughing with his wealthy friends, was the man she had never expected to see again. Then William casually lifted his champagne glass and said something that made Maya's heart stop. Funny, he said with a grin. I barely remember that accident anymore. William's smile never faded, but Maya felt the air leave her lungs. Barely remember it? The words echoed through her head louder than the orchestra, louder than the laughter drifting beneath the chandeliers. 18 years ago, she had spent weeks replaying that night. He had forgotten it completely. Across the ballroom, guests gathered around William as cameras flashed. The billionaire raised his glass and accepted another round of praise. Maya quietly stepped back toward the service entrance. Her hands trembled against the folded towel. She needed air. She needed distance. The heavy kitchen doors swung open with a metallic thud. Instantly the glamour vanished. Stainless steel counters gleamed beneath harsh white lights. Industrial mixers hummed. Carts rattled across concrete floors. The smell of roasted beef and hot butter filled the air. Maya pressed a hand against the prep table and tried to steady herself. Then she heard footsteps. Fast. Deliberate. You! Her supervisor's voice snapped through the noise. Mr. Carter wants the wine inventory checked. Move. Maya nodded without looking up. Yes, ma'am. Minutes later she was alone in the estate's lower-level storage garage. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. A ventilation fan rattled somewhere in the darkness. Rows of expensive wine crates stretched across the room like silent walls. She knelt beside a shelf, scanning labels, but her focus was gone. The scar. The voice. The accident. Every detail fit. Then another memory surfaced. Not the river. After the rescue. A hospital room. Rain tapping against a window. A frightened little girl sitting beside a bed while a man barely conscious pressed something into her hand. Maya's breath caught. She reached beneath her collar and pulled out the silver bracelet hidden beneath her uniform. The metal felt cold against her skin. To my little hero. Her fingers tightened around it. Suddenly the garage door rolled open with a mechanical growl. Bright headlights flooded the room. Maya quickly hid the bracelet. A black SUV eased inside. William Carter stepped out, still wearing the same perfect suit. He looked irritated. Not powerful. Irritated. Have you seen a silver cufflink? He asked without even looking at her. Maya froze. No, sir. William sighed. Of course not. He rubbed his temple. For the first time all evening, he looked tired. Human. Older than the magazines made him seem. Then his gaze drifted toward her face. Do I know you? Maya's heartbeat slammed against her ribs. No, sir. His eyes narrowed. That is strange. Silence stretched between them. The ventilation fan rattled overhead. Somewhere water dripped steadily through a pipe. William took a step closer. Have we met before? Maya opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Because at that exact moment another vehicle pulled into the garage. A white sedan. Its tires squealed slightly as it stopped. A man jumped out holding a thick file folder. Mr. Carter! He shouted. William turned. Not now. It cannot wait. The man looked shaken. Pale. Out of breath. You asked me to investigate the river accident from 18 years ago. Maya's stomach dropped. William frowned. What about it? The man swallowed hard and opened the folder. We found the person who pulled you out of the water. The entire garage seemed to go silent. Even the ventilation fan felt distant. William stared at him. What did you just say? The investigator slowly lifted a photograph from the file. Then he turned it toward William. And Maya saw her own 12-year-old face staring back from the picture. William Carter stared at the photograph as if it had just rewritten reality. The garage lights reflected across the glossy image. Rainwater glistened on a crushed guardrail. Emergency vehicles crowded the background. And there, standing beside them in an oversized yellow raincoat, was a young black girl. Maya. Nobody spoke. The low rumble of the ventilation system filled the silence. The investigator shifted uneasily. We verified it 3 times, he said. The witness statements match. The timeline matches. The rescue report matches. William's jaw tightened. That is impossible. Maya felt every eye in the garage turn toward her. Employees had begun gathering near the entrance. A valet. 2 servers. A security guard. Their whispers floated through the still air. William looked from the photograph to Maya. Then back again. His expression hardened. No. The word came fast. Defensive. Almost angry. If she saved my life, why did nobody ever tell me? The investigator hesitated. Because she disappeared before anyone could identify her. William's eyes narrowed. Convenient. The accusation hung in the air. Maya felt it immediately. Not gratitude. Not shock. Suspicion. Somehow he still found a way to look down on her. You think I made this up? She asked quietly. William folded his arms. I think people do strange things when money is involved. The words landed harder than any public humiliation from the ballroom. A security guard glanced away uncomfortably. Even the investigator looked stunned. Maya slowly nodded. Of course. William took a step forward. You have been working in my house for 6 months. Yes. And you never said a word? No, why? Maya's fingers brushed the bracelet hidden beneath her collar. Her heartbeat remained steady now. The fear was gone. Something stronger had taken its place. Because I did not save you for a reward. Silence. The answer seemed to catch everyone off guard. William's expression flickered for the first time. Just for a second. Then he recovered. Anyone can say that now. Maya looked directly into his eyes. The river was 34 feet across at that point. William blinked. What? The current was moving north. Fast. She stepped closer. Your driver's side window was jammed. The passenger side was already underwater. The garage felt smaller now. Tighter. More crowded. Every person listening had gone completely silent. Maya continued. You were wearing a navy blue tie with silver stripes. Your watch stopped at 9:17. William's face strained of color. The investigator slowly lowered the file. She is right, he whispered. Maya took another breath. The memories felt sharp as broken glass now. You kept trying to reach the briefcase trapped under the seat. William stared at her. How do you know that? Maya's eyes softened. Because you kept saying the same thing. His throat moved. What thing? Maya looked down for a moment. Then back up. Please tell my wife I am sorry. The words hit the garage like a shockwave. William stepped backward. Not physically shaken. Emotionally. The sentence had never appeared in any report. No newspaper. No interview. No investigation file. Nobody knew those were the last words he spoke before losing consciousness. Nobody except one person. The person who had been there. The crowd exchanged nervous looks. Suddenly the power dynamic felt different. For the first time all night, Maya was not the invisible maid standing beneath a billionaire. She was the keeper of a truth only she possessed. William opened his mouth. Closed it. Opened it again. No words came. Then his phone vibrated sharply. The sound shattered the silence. He glanced at the screen. His expression changed instantly. Not confusion. Not anger. Fear. Real fear. Maya noticed it immediately. So did everyone else. William answered. What happened? A long pause. The color drained from his face. How? Another pause. Then complete silence. When he finally lowered the phone, his hand was trembling. The investigator frowned. Sir? William looked directly at Maya. His voice barely rose above a whisper. Someone just broke into the archive storage downtown. Maya's stomach tightened. What was stored there? William swallowed. Everything connected to the accident. Then he slowly looked down at the photograph in his hand. And realized it was no longer the only copy. The garage seemed to shrink around them. The cold fluorescent lights reflected off steel shelves and polished car panels while a low mechanical hum vibrated through the concrete floor. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. William Carter stared at the photograph in one hand and his phone in the other. The muscles in his jaw tightened. Someone had broken into the archive. Someone wanted the accident erased. Or worse, rewritten. The whispers started immediately. Staff members exchanged uneasy looks. A valet subtly lifted his phone. Then another. Tiny camera lights blinked alive in the shadows. Recording. Watching. Waiting. William noticed. His face darkened. Put those away. Nobody listened. The silence felt heavier now. More dangerous. Maya stood perfectly still. She could feel the heat from the SUV engine nearby. The smell of gasoline and rain drifted through the open garage door. Something about all of this felt wrong. Not chaotic. Planned? When did the break-in happen? She asked. The investigator blinked. About 30 minutes ago. Maya's eyes narrowed. No. Everyone looked at her. William's expression hardened instantly. What do you mean, no? Maya stepped toward the investigator. 30 minutes ago is when they wanted you to discover it. The garage fell silent again. The actual break-in happened earlier. William laughed once. Sharp. Dismissive. And how exactly would you know that? Maya ignored him. Did security find forced entry? The investigator hesitated. No. Any alarms? No. Any damaged locks? No. Maya nodded slowly. Then whoever entered already had access. The words landed like a weight dropped from a height. Several employees exchanged nervous glances. William folded his arms. You are making assumptions. No, Maya said quietly. I am following the evidence. That only made him angrier. Because deep down, he knew she was right. The investigator looked uncomfortable. Actually, she may have a point. William turned sharply. What? There was no sign of forced entry. The tension snapped tighter. William looked around the garage. For the first time, suspicion entered his eyes. Not toward Maya. Toward everyone else. The people who worked for him. The people he trusted. A security guard swallowed hard. A valet suddenly avoided eye contact. The atmosphere shifted instantly. Then Maya noticed something nobody else did. A faint smear of black grease near the archive keycard box attached to the investigator's folder. Tiny. Easy to miss. She stepped closer. What is that? The investigator looked down. What? Maya pointed. The grease. He frowned. I do not know. Maya's mind raced. The smell hit her next. Machine oil. Fresh. Not from the garage. From industrial equipment. Heavy equipment. The kind used downtown near the riverfront warehouses. The same area where the accident happened 18 years ago. Her heartbeat quickened. The archive was not the target, she said. William exhaled sharply. Enough. Listen to me. No. His voice echoed through the garage. You are a maid, not an investigator. The humiliation was public. Deliberate. Several employees looked away. Yet Maya did not flinch. Then why am I the only one asking the right questions? The words cut deeper than shouting ever could. William froze. So did everyone else. The investigator stared at her. The valet stopped recording. Even the distant hum of the ventilation system seemed to disappear. Maya took another step forward. Someone wanted you focused on the archive. Why? William demanded. Because they wanted you looking backward. The garage door rattled suddenly. Everyone jumped. A cold gust of wind swept inside. Rain sprayed across the concrete. Then another phone rang. Not William's. The investigator's. He answered. His face went pale almost instantly. What happened? Silence. Then more silence. His breathing changed. Are you sure? When he lowered the phone, nobody needed an explanation. Something terrible had shifted. The archive was not the only place hit, he said quietly. William's face drained of color. What else? The investigator looked directly at him. Your private bank vault downtown. A stunned silence filled the garage. William took a step backward. For the first time all night, the billionaire looked genuinely afraid. Then the investigator added 6 words that made Maya's blood run cold. And they took only one file. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. William's voice barely worked. Which file? The investigator slowly turned toward Maya. The one with her name on it. The words hit the garage harder than any alarm ever could. The file with her name on it. For a moment, nobody breathed. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Rain rattled against the metal door. Somewhere deep inside the building, an engine idled with a low mechanical growl that seemed to vibrate through the concrete floor. Every eye turned toward Maya. Not William. Not the investigator. Maya. The invisible maid had suddenly become the center of everything. William's face darkened. What was in that file? The investigator hesitated. Private records. What records? William snapped. Records connected to the accident. Maya felt her stomach tighten. Something was wrong. Very wrong. The investigator opened his mouth to continue, but another voice cut through the silence. Or maybe she already knows. The words came from the back of the crowd. Heads turned instantly. A senior executive stepped forward. Gray suit. Expensive watch. Cold eyes. Think about it, he said. The archives get hit. The vault gets hit. The only file missing belongs to her. A murmur swept through the room. Phones lifted higher. Camera lenses focused. Maya could almost hear opinions changing in real time. The executive pointed directly at her. And suddenly she knows things nobody else knows. William said nothing. That hurt more than the accusation itself. Because he was considering it. Maya saw it in his eyes. The doubt. The suspicion. The fear. You think I stole my own file? She asked quietly. I think people hide things. The executive replied. Especially when money is involved. The irony almost made her laugh. Instead, she stood silent. Around her, whispers spread. Employees who had ignored her for months now stared as if she were dangerous. A security guard subtly shifted position closer to her. The humiliation was complete. Public. Total. Yet beneath it all, another feeling surfaced. Certainty. Maya looked at William. You are looking at the wrong person. William's jaw tightened. Then help me understand. I am trying. No. His voice cracked unexpectedly. You are giving me pieces. The billionaire who had controlled every room for 20 years suddenly looked exhausted. Sweat glistened near his collar. His hands shook slightly. Investors were calling. Reporters were probably already hearing rumors. His empire was beginning to wobble. And everyone could see it. The investigator's phone buzzed again. Once. Twice. 3 times. He looked down. His face turned pale. What now? William demanded. The investigator swallowed. The bank security team found something. Nobody moved. Found what? William asked. The investigator slowly turned the screen around. Security footage. Grainy. Black and white. A timestamp from 2 hours earlier. The vault corridor appeared empty at first. Then a figure entered the frame. The crowd leaned forward. Maya felt her pulse hammering. The figure wore a hood. A baseball cap. Gloves. Face hidden. But one thing was visible. A silver bracelet hanging from their wrist. Gasps echoed through the garage. William stared at the image. Then at Maya. Then back again. The bracelet looked almost identical to hers. The whispers exploded. It was her. Look at the bracelet. That cannot be a coincidence. Maya felt the room closing around her. Yet something in the image bothered her immediately. The figure was left-handed. She noticed it in seconds. The way they reached for the access panel. The way they carried the folder. The way their bodies shifted. Wrong. Completely wrong. That is not me. Nobody listened. The bracelet. Someone whispered. It matches. William looked away from her. And that was the moment everything broke. Not because he accused her. Because he could not defend her. Maya felt it instantly. The last fragile thread of trust had snapped. Then she stepped toward the phone. Pause it! Nobody moved. Pause it! This time her voice cut through the noise. The investigator obeyed. The image froze. Maya pointed at the screen. Zoom in. The footage enlarged. Grainy. Distorted. Imperfect. But enough. Maya's eyes narrowed. Her breathing slowed. Suddenly she saw it. Not the bracelet. Something else. Something hidden in plain sight. Her blood ran cold. Oh no. William looked at her. What? Maya stared at the frozen frame. That is not a thief. Silence. What are you talking about? Maya swallowed. That person works for you. Then she slowly raised her finger toward a tiny reflection visible in the polished vault door. And the moment William saw who was standing beside the masked figure, the color disappeared from his face. No one spoke. The garage seemed frozen in place. The fluorescent lights hummed softly overhead, reflecting off polished metal and rain-slick concrete. A distant engine finally shut down, leaving behind an eerie silence that felt heavier than noise. Every eye remained fixed on Maya. She did not move. She did not panic. She simply stared at the frozen image on the screen. The reflection hidden in the vault door. The detail nobody else had noticed. William Carter's breathing sounded unusually loud now. His shoulders remained squared, but the confidence was gone. Something inside him had shifted. The billionaire who controlled boardrooms and billion-dollar deals suddenly looked like a man standing on unstable ground. Who is it? Someone whispered. Nobody answered. Maya slowly stepped closer to the phone screen. Her shoes echoed against the concrete floor. The sound seemed unnaturally sharp in the silence. The investigator zoomed in further. The image became grainy. Distorted. Yet the reflection remained visible. A second figure standing beside the masked person. Watching. Waiting. William swallowed. I know that silhouette. The words came out quieter than intended. Around him, executives exchanged nervous looks. Investors who had arrived from the gala now stood near the garage entrance, their expensive suits suddenly feeling out of place. Phones vibrated with incoming messages. Nobody checked them. Nobody wanted to miss what happened next. Maya looked at William. You know who it is. It was not a question. William rubbed a hand across his face. No. Another pause. I think I do. The crowd grew even quieter. Maya noticed something strange. For the first time all night, nobody was looking at her with suspicion. They were looking at her for answers. The shift was subtle but unmistakable. Hours ago she had been invisible. Then she became a suspect. Now she was becoming something else entirely. The only person seeing what everyone else missed. The realization unsettled the room. It unsettled William even more. A cold draft slipped through the garage as rain continued outside. Somewhere water dripped steadily from a pipe. Tick. 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 Maya glanced back at the screen. Her stomach tightened. Because the reflection was not the most important thing anymore. Something else bothered her. Something hidden beneath the obvious. Pause. The investigator frowned. It already is. No. Maya pointed toward the corner of the frame. There. The image zoomed again. More distortion. More grain. Then it appeared. A timestamp reflected faintly in the polished vault surface. The investigator's eyes widened first. Then William's. Then everyone else's. That cannot be right, one executive whispered. Maya felt her pulse slow instead of rise. The way it always did when the truths started coming together. The footage was altered. Silence. Nobody reacted immediately. The statement was too large. Too dangerous. Williams stared at the timestamp. How can you tell? Maya pointed again. Because this camera records in military time. Another pause. That reflection shows standard time. The investigator's face went pale. Dear God. The crowd shifted uneasily. Phones lowered. The whispers disappeared. Suddenly the evidence everyone had trusted no longer felt reliable. William looked at Maya differently now. Not as a maid. Not as a suspect. Not even as the girl who once saved his life. He looked at her like someone standing in darkness watching another person find the light switch. Someone wanted us to see this footage, Maya said softly. Someone wanted us looking at me. Nobody argued. Nobody laughed. Nobody dismissed her. The silence itself became proof. Then a phone vibrated. Once. Sharp. Loud. The sound made several people jump. William glanced down. His expression immediately changed. Not fear. Not shock. Recognition. Maya saw it before anyone else. Who is it? She asked. William did not answer. He simply stared at the screen. His hand tightened around the phone. The color drained from his face. Finally, after several long seconds, he turned the display toward Maya. One new message. No sender. No number. Just 7 words glowing against a black background. She remembers more than you think. Maya felt the blood leave her face. Because beneath the message was an attachment. An audio file. Dated 18 years ago. The exact night of the accident. The garage felt impossibly still. No one looked away from the phone in William Carter's hand. The cold overhead lights reflected across tense faces and polished steel. Somewhere outside, rain tapped softly against the building, but inside, even that sound seemed distant. Maya stared at the screen. The audio file. Dated 18 years ago. The exact night everything changed. William's thumb hovered over the attachment. For a second, nobody moved. Then he pressed play. Static crackled through the phone's speaker. Weak. Distorted. The sound echoed across the silent garage. Several people instinctively stepped closer. Investors. Employees. Executives. The same people who had doubted Maya minutes earlier now stood frozen, waiting. More static followed. Then a voice. Faint. Shaking. A young girl's voice. Maya's breath caught instantly. She recognized it before anyone else. Hers. 18 years younger. Please hurry. The recording whispered through tears. The car is sinking. The entire room seemed to stop breathing. William's face tightened. The recording continued. Rain hammered in the background. Water splashed. Sirens sounded far away. There is a man trapped inside. Maya closed her eyes. Memories rushed back with painful clarity. The cold river. The darkness. The fear. Then another voice appeared. Male. Weak. Barely conscious. William's face lost all color. Because he recognized it too. His own. The recording was real. Undeniably real. Nobody whispered now. Nobody moved. The garage had become a courtroom. And the evidence was speaking for itself. The younger Maya's voice returned. Stay awake. A cough. More water. More panic. Then the man's voice again. Fragile. Broken. If I do not make it. William lowered his head. The recording continued. Tell my wife I am sorry. A collective breath escaped the crowd. The exact words Maya had repeated earlier. Words nobody should have known. Words she somehow remembered after 18 years. Not because she invented them. Because she heard them. The silence afterward felt enormous. Several investors exchanged stunned looks. The executive who had accused her earlier slowly lowered his eyes. For the first time all night, nobody seemed interested in defending their assumptions. The truth was dismantling them one piece at a time. William stared at Maya. His expression was no longer suspicion, no longer doubt. Something heavier. Something harder to face. Regret. The recording was not finished. Static returned briefly. Then another voice entered the audio. Clearer than before. Adult. Male. Calm. Every head lifted. Maya felt her stomach drop. She did not recognize this voice. Neither did William. "Delete the rescue report," the man said. The crowd froze. "No public records. No witnesses. No loose ends." The investigator's eyes widened. "What?" Static interrupted again. Then the voice returned. "Mr. Carter can never know who pulled him out." William looked physically shaken now. The recording continued for only a few more seconds. Then it ended. Silence crashed down over the room. Nobody spoke. Nobody even seemed to know how. The implications were too large. Someone had hidden the truth from the beginning. Not recently. Not during the break-in. 18 years ago. Maya slowly opened her eyes. She looked around the garage. Every face had changed. The investors who dismissed her. The employees who doubted her. The executives who questioned her motives. Their certainty was gone. Replaced by disbelief. Replaced by shame. William finally spoke. His voice barely worked. "You were telling the truth." Maya said nothing. She did not need to. The audio had answered for her. Then the investigator suddenly stepped forward. "Wait." His voice cut through the silence. "Listen to this." He replayed the final few seconds. The mysterious man's voice echoed again. "Delete the rescue report. No witnesses. No loose ends." This time Maya noticed something. Something tiny. Something everyone else missed. Her eyes narrowed. William immediately saw the change in her expression. "What?" Maya looked toward him slowly. "I know that voice." The words hit harder than the recording itself. The crowd froze again. William's heartbeat seemed visible in his throat. "Who is it?" Maya did not answer immediately. She looked across the garage. Past the investors. Past the employees. Past the security team. Toward a single person standing near the back wall. A man who had been completely silent all night. A man who suddenly looked very nervous. Then Maya whispered 6 words that made the room feel 10 degrees colder. "He is standing in this garage." The silence that followed felt heavier than the storm outside. Nobody turned away. Nobody checked their phone. Nobody whispered. Every eye followed Maya's gaze toward the man standing near the back wall. The fluorescent lights reflected across his face as the color slowly drained from it. He had been invisible all evening. Just another executive among dozens. Just another trusted insider standing close to power. Now he looked trapped by it. William Carter stared at him in disbelief. "Ethan?" His voice barely carried across the garage. The man swallowed hard. The simple movement seemed loud in the silence. Maya recognized him immediately now. The voice from the recording. Older. Sharper. But unmistakable. The same calm voice that had ordered evidence to disappear 18 years ago. The same voice that had tried to erase her existence from William's story. Around them, investors exchanged stunned looks. Several employees lowered their phones for the first time all night. Nobody expected this. Ethan had worked beside William for nearly 2 decades. Trusted advisor. Chief strategist. One of the few people allowed access to everything. William took a slow step forward. His expensive shoes echoed across the concrete. "Tell me she is wrong." Ethan said nothing. The silence answered first. Then his eyes dropped toward the floor. Another answer. The crowd shifted uneasily. The power in the room was changing shape. Not through shouting. Through truth. William's breathing grew heavier. "Tell me she is wrong." This time the words sounded less like an order and more like a plea. Ethan closed his eyes. For several seconds, nobody moved. Then he exhaled. Long defeated. I thought I was protecting you. The sentence landed harder than any confession. The garage seemed to shrink around them. William stared at him. Protecting me? Ethan nodded slowly. The accident would have destroyed everything. His voice shook now. Investors were already nervous. Your company was fragile. If people learned a 12-year-old girl rescued you while security failed. He stopped. The excuse sounded weak even to him. Maya watched silently. There was no triumph in her expression. No satisfaction. Only sadness. Ethan looked toward her briefly. Shame flashed across his face. I never thought I would see you again. The crowd absorbed every word. Every camera recorded it. Every assumption they had made about Maya was unraveling in real time. The executive who accused her earlier could not even meet her eyes anymore. Neither could several others. William rubbed a hand across his face. He looked older now. Not because of years. Because of realization. He slowly turned toward Maya. For a moment either spoke. The cold garage lights reflected in his eyes. She saw regret there. Genuine regret. The kind that arrived too late. All night, William said quietly. I kept asking why you never told me. Maya remained still. And I never asked the real question. He swallowed. Why did nobody let me know? No one had an answer. Not Ethan. Not the investors. Not the executives. The room itself seemed ashamed. Maya looked down briefly at the silver bracelet resting in her palm. The same bracelet she had carried for 18 years. The same one he had given her without ever knowing who she was. Then she looked back at William. Because some people only see what fits their story. Nobody spoke after that. They did not need to. The truth settled over the garage like falling snow. Slow. Quiet. Impossible to ignore. One by one, the expressions around her changed. The suspicion vanished. The judgment disappeared. What replaced it was harder to face. Respect. A valet lowered his phone completely. An investor nodded almost imperceptibly. Even the security guard who had watched her with doubt now looked embarrassed. For the first time all night, Maya was not standing beneath anyone. She simply stood. And somehow that carried more power than everything else in the room. William looked at her again. I owe you more than an apology. Maya's expression softened slightly. Maybe. A faint vibration interrupted the moment. Then another. Phones across the garage lit up almost simultaneously. Investors checked their screens. Executives frowned. The investigator's face changed first. Then William's. Then everyone else's. The emotional tension that had finally begun to ease suddenly returned. Sharp. Immediate. Dangerous. The investigator looked up slowly. There is something else. Nobody wanted more bad news. Yet everyone knew it was coming. The investigator's voice dropped. The person who sent the audio file just uploaded a second recording. Maya felt a chill run through her chest. William looked at him. What is on it? The investigator swallowed. His eyes moved from the phone screen to Maya. Then back again. It was recorded after the accident. A pause. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Then he spoke the words that silenced the entire garage once more. And someone in that recording knows exactly what happened to Maya after she disappeared. The garage had gone quiet again. Not the tense silence from before. Something different. Something softer. The storm outside had weakened to a gentle patter against the roof. The engines were off. The machinery had settled. Only the faint hum of fluorescent lights remained. The investigator opened the second recording. Nobody moved. Nobody needed to. The audio crackled softly. Then a woman's voice filled the room. Older. Calm. The little girl is safe. Maya's breath caught. She knew that voice. Mrs. Ramirez. The retired nurse from the small hospital near the river. The woman who had given her a blanket after the accident. The recording continued. She does not want attention. She does not want money. She only wants to go home. The crowd listened without a sound. I asked her why she stayed in the rain waiting for help. A brief pause. Then the answer came. She said nobody deserves to die alone. Several people lowered their eyes. William closed his. The words landed harder than any accusation ever could. The recording ended a few seconds later. No hidden conspiracy. No secret fortune. No manipulation. Just the truth. Simple. Human. Quiet. The silence afterward felt almost sacred. Maya stood exactly where she had been standing all night. Yet everything around her had changed. The suspicion was gone. The whispers were gone. The invisible wall that separated her from everyone else had disappeared. William looked at her for a long moment. The cold light reflected in his eyes. There was no defense left. No pride left. Only honesty. I spent 18 years thanking the wrong people. His voice was steady, but barely. Maya did not answer. He nodded slowly. And tonight I spent hours judging the right one. The words hung in the air. Nobody interrupted. Nobody looked away. William took a step forward. Then another. The billionaire who had entered the evening surrounded by admiration now stood alone in front of the one person whose respect he had never earned. I cannot change what happened. He swallowed. And I cannot undo what I said to you tonight. Maya looked at him quietly. No. The answer was simple. Honest. William nodded. But I needed to say it anyway. He extended his hand. Not for a photo. Not for the cameras. Not for the investors. Just a hand. For a moment, nobody breathed. The same man who had ordered her to clean up his mess in front of a ballroom full of people was now standing in silence, waiting. Maya looked at the hand. Then at him. The garage felt brighter somehow. Not because the lights changed. Because the weight had finally lifted. She reached out and shook his hand. Nothing dramatic happened. No applause. No speeches. No celebration. Just two people standing in the middle of a quiet garage. One finally seeing. The other finally being seen. Around them, phones slowly lowered. Investors stopped recording. Employees relaxed their shoulders. The tension that had consumed the entire night dissolved into something warmer. Something human. A few minutes later, people began leaving. Small groups disappeared into the fading storm. Conversation stayed quiet. Thoughtful. The executive who had accused Maya earlier paused beside her. I was wrong. Maya simply nodded. He walked away. No excuses. No justification. Just accountability. One by one, the others followed. Eventually only a handful remained. The garage felt larger now. Emptier. Peaceful. Dawn had begun to creep across the horizon outside. Pale gold light slipped through the open garage door and stretched across the concrete floor. William noticed the silver bracelet still resting in Maya's hand. You kept it all these years. Maya glanced down at it. The metal caught the first light of morning. I almost threw it away once. Why did you not? Maya smiled faintly. Not a victorious smile. A quiet one. Because it reminded me who I wanted to be. William looked away for a second. The answer struck deeper than he expected. A cool breeze drifted into the garage. The last warmth from the engines faded into the morning air. Maya slipped the bracelet back beneath her collar and turned toward the exit. Her footsteps echoed softly across the concrete. Nobody stopped her. Nobody ordered her. Nobody looked down on her. Halfway to the door, she paused. The sunrise painted the floor with bands of gold and silver. Behind her, William remained standing where she had left him. Watching. Thinking. Changed. Maya looked back once. Then continued walking into the morning light. And for the first time in 18 years, the man she had saved finally understood that the strongest person in the room had never been the billionaire. It was the woman who never needed anyone to know what she had done.